Hello and welcome to another edition of the Arsenal Fan TV podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me this week we've got Callum. How you doing?
Yeah, good evening, mate. You alright?
You're right, not too bad. And James. James, how you, mate?
I'm good, mate. How are you?
Not too bad, not too bad. We've come off the European midweek blues, coming to the weekend. 3-0 victory, the only English European side to actually get a victory this weekend, if I'm right. What did you guys make of Saturday's game? I'm going to start with you, Callum.
Just a sight for sore eyes, really, after what's been a pretty underwhelming start to the season. I think after what was an absolute disgraceful performance on Tuesday night, we needed a response. We'd drawn our last 3 Premier League matches, and obviously, drawing to Everton and City isn't the worst result, and I guess drawing with Leicester doesn't look that bad either anymore. But we needed a win, and to win by 3 goals, which is something we don't really do that often, was really good. And I said when the goals went in, I said if I could pick 2 players today, who needed the goals the most, I think Ozil and Welbeck were probably the 2. If you could handpick them, you'd have chosen those 2. And it was a real good performance. I think we seemed to kill the game quite well after we went 3-0 up, and we finally showed our quality. And I think after, as I said, a bit of an underwhelming start, it was just fantastic not only to get the win, but to win by such a good margin, especially over a team that's been in good form as well. They went and beat Liverpool at Anfield last weekend. So, going to Villa Park and winning by that scoreline, absolutely delighted. And all the other results have gone our way this weekend. So it's been a really, really good couple of days for us.
James, was the switch back to 4-2-3-1 a significant factor in yesterday's performance in your estimation?
Yeah, definitely. And the fact that you have the £42 million man playing in the role that he's meant to be playing in also has a significant fact also. But like Cal was saying, to come over that hangover of the Tuesday, normally when we play a big Champions League game, the game after, we're always like a bit lack of energy and everything, but we were all, everyone was running well, everyone was doing their bit. And, they had the best defence in the league. You've got to bear in mind, before the game, Aston Villa were the best defensive side so far. And for us to keep a clean sheet against them is quite impressive as well. I mean, our defence has been ropey at best of times, but I thought Chesney, you saw the best of him with that save from, I think it was that Bonglahor, did it? He basically hit him in the face, I think, pretty much. But
was that the one from the Cleverley free kick, the header?
Yeah, I think it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
there was another one where.
There was another one, yeah.
He
it was 1-0 where he spread his body.
Yeah.
And I think it was Clark. I think maybe he was. But yeah, he was.
Yeah. No, he gave the ball away, and I think it was Wyman ran through, and then he played it through to Bonglahor, and he just about saved it. So you see the best and the worst of him at times. But what annoyed me in the first couple of minutes was when Aston Villa did get a free kick, we had a one-man wall with Cazorla. Why? He's the smallest guy on the pitch. And I mean, I put the tweet out there, and they're all like, "Oh, James, yeah, totally agree with you, mate. Totally agree." I'm like, why? Again, like I said in the last pod, do we not think about this during the week, when we're practicing for these games? What we were going to have in the wall here, lads, type kind of thing. But I thought it was a really good game. I mean, the goals were really, really good. I mean, that's Ozil's first away goal, I believe, in the league for Arsenal.
That's right. Yep.
And I mean, his stats prove for himself. 1 goal, 1 assist, 92% pass accuracy. I mean, 71% of the final match possession's pretty impressive as well, and 741 completed passes, which is the most in a game in the Premier League in 2 seasons. So you can't be too mad at that.
Indeed. They said that Villa were laid low with a bug today. Yesterday, going into yesterday's game. Does that have any bearing? Does that temper the sweetness of the result in your estimation, Cal?
No, not at all. I honestly couldn't give less of a shit. We look. More often than not, when you come and face Arsenal, you're probably going to be facing a team that's 2 or 3 players short, because we all seem to be, So I don't really have any sympathy for other teams that are missing players. Obviously, it's a shame for Villa, but, we've had that. There seems to be a game last season where
Man United.
Yeah, oh, God, don't remind me. Yeah, we had players that were apparently feeling pretty under the weather. So it's part of the game, and it's unfortunate, but, you can only beat who's put in front of you. And the majority of that team was still, the best performers. I know Vla was out, but they still had Delph in there. He's probably been their best player. Bonhor and Vyman are live wires. They're going to cause you problems if you're not switched on. I think we dealt with them pretty well, and for me, as I said, it's all well and good. When you've drawn 3 games in a row and you've still had 6 points dropped effectively, you need to just get a win. And obviously, if we just scraped 2-1 win, and we hadn't played very well, maybe I'd be a bit disappointed. But just getting the 3 points was the most important thing. And the bonus that came with it was that not only we did that, we seemed to get our groove back a little bit. And it's funny how I was watching the game on Tuesday night, and I was just thinking to myself, this is the reason why we are not going to win the Premier League, we're not going to win the Champions League. It's laid out in front of you here. We were just absolutely abysmal versus Dortmund. We supposedly had 3 players in the middle, but we pretty much had no midfield. And you're watching the game, and all you can think about is just how have we managed to be this bad? When a year ago we went to Dortmund and won, and then suddenly this weekend we put 3 goals past a pretty good Villa team, and everything. Ozil suddenly looks worth every penny of the money we spent on him, and Welbeck looks like a great signing. So we've kind of had the best of both worlds this week, and you've seen the good and the bad of Arsenal. But I think as James said, we're glad that we've gone back to the 4-2-3-1, and I think you hope that Wenger will stick with it, because it was by far our best performance. So, and we did it all without Alexis Sanchez as well, which is a huge bonus that he was able to rest it. So, I don't care. The Villa players had the flu. We got the win, and that's all that matters.
Okay, you mentioned, we did it without Alexis Sanchez. Yesterday on Match of the Day, Martin Keown mentioned that we seem to play. I don't know if he was saying that we look better without Alexis Sanchez, or we seem to be the players seem to understand what their duties were a bit more without him being there. What did you make of that?
I felt that was a bit. He was kind of putting 2 and 2 together to making 5. There's a correlation, because obviously Alexis didn't play and we won the match. But if you actually, I don't really understand what Alexis. Sometimes he's been accused of dilly-dallying on the ball, but this season I think all the players have done that. Ozil, up till yesterday, seemed to, he couldn't make a pass. He seemed to always make the wrong decision. And let's be honest, I think bar maybe Wilshere, you could make the case for, but Alexis has been our best player this season. He's been an absolute live wire. I think I don't really understand where I watched that. I was quite surprised. I don't really understand where Keown was coming from. I don't think he did a particularly good job of explaining what it was about Alexis that made him not being there made us better. I don't find anything in that, and I think I'm glad that he was rested, because I think we don't want him to burn out, and he's the kind of player that will do, because he works so hard. So I didn't really think there's too much substance in that, to be honest, and I'll expect Alexis to be back before long.
Okay, James, we went into the game yesterday without a recognised defender and the bench. Precarious, to say the least. I tweeted, 300 million in the bank, and not.
Yeah, I retweeted you, mate. I agree.
But we got away with it yesterday, didn't we? There's no injuries, so from what I understand, no defensive injuries.
No.
And the defence looked a lot more better together, didn't they? Who was playing on the right? Was it Koscielny playing on the right of the 2 centre halves? He seemed to be.
I think Mertesacker goes on the left, doesn't he?
Yeah.
With Gibbo, yeah.
And he seemed to be protecting Callum Chambers a lot more on the right, and obviously with Gibbs back, we just seemed to be a lot more assured in defence. That was my estimation. I don't know what your estimation of that was.
Yeah, everyone was going on about certain players, how well they played yesterday, but I think Kieran Gibbs is always a guy that gets quite overlooked. And I thought him and Chamberlain, when he was on the left, because they were sort of, him and Cazorla like just swapping about on the wings there, a bit like what Barcelona do, in the fact that it's like, I'll go here, I'll go on the right one time, I'll swap over, you go on the left. But I thought him and Chamberlain were fantastic down there together. And I think it was towards the end of the game he played that crossing, Gibbs, after like beating 2 or 3, and Podolski just about nearly got there but didn't. I was like, that's a fantastic ball. If you can get someone on the end of them, you'll have goals galore. They're the easiest goals to score. You saw it today with Hazard against City. If you play a ball across the box like that and you've got a player there, you're going to score them every day of the week.
Yeah. He did something similar against Dortmund as well, didn't he, Gibbs? He had a little moment when he ran past 2 or 3 players, and it was the one where the keeper kind of got a hand to it and it just fell to Welbeck too quickly. But he's got that in his locker, Gibbs. He's a great great attacking fullback.
Yeah, well, I think he was born a winger, wasn't he, or something like that? Then we converted.
Yeah.
Welbeck's goal, Ozil's goal. I think they both returned each other the favour, didn't they? I think Ozil, was it Welbeck set up Ozil for the first, and then Ozil returned the compliment, didn't he? How do you think this is we can look forward to them sort of like really taking off this season now? I mean, both Ozil in terms of performance and Welbeck in terms of goal scoring. Do you think this is the sort of performance they needed to get this season underway, should I say?
Yeah, I think, as I said before, the two players that probably needed the goals the most were Ozil and Welbeck. Welbeck not so. I think Welbeck played really well against City last week. He wasn't very good against Dortmund, but then who was? I think he had another great game yesterday, and he had something like 97% pass completion, which as a striker is absolutely fantastic. I think, remember last season, Giroud often ended up with 60%, which is kind of to be expected because he's always trying these flick-ons, and it's harder because you're marked up there. But Welbeck seemed to, the thing I like most about Welbeck really is, well, not only his work rate, but his movement seems so fantastic. He seemed to know when to drop deep, when to move into the flanks, and because as much as I like Giroud, quite often it's tough. He can be marked quite easily because he's not the quickest. He's not going to suddenly burst away and you're lost him. Whereas Welbeck seems to be very clever and in his movement, and there's obviously his pace helps out there as well. But for the first goal, he knew when to drop deep. And Ozil, who if he'd been playing on the left as he has been doing, he wouldn't be in a position to attack the defence like he did, because normally he'd be trying to defend maybe on one side, or he'd just be too far away from the action. Whereas if he's where he was, as soon as Welbeck gets the ball, he sees the space, and Ozil, he's an intelligent player, knows where to go. And credit to Welbeck because he found him with an absolutely beautiful pass. And then again for the second goal, Ozil's intelligence means he exploits the space. It's funny actually. I found the goal. Do you remember his debut last season against Sunderland? When he drifted into the channel, Gibbs hit a ball over and he just hit it to Giroud. I found that was almost, it was so similar. He saw the space, drifted into it, and then when he got the ball, all he had to do was hit a simple pass across the ball, and Welbeck's movement for it was fantastic, and he couldn't really miss. So, you hope that will be the first of many goals that they'll assist each other, score for each other. Both, I think, were really, really good goals.
James?
Yeah, I totally agree with what Callum's just been saying, really. I mean, like we said with in the last pod about Ozil, is the fact that he benefits from having someone that's going to run for him. And with Giroud, you don't really get that much. I mean, when Walcott was there last year, he got 5 goals in 3 games, I believe it was. That's his best run he had at Arsenal. Like in consecutive games, he got like the 5 goals in the 3 matches. And Ozil practically set the majority of them up, so you can see benefits when he's got a runner there, and I think he can trust in Welbeck that he will get to that ball and hopefully finish it. I mean, he's got a point to prove now. He got fire lit under his belly, like we said before, with Van Gaal saying he's not good enough, and I think he really wants to be somewhere where the fans do adore him and he can get the goals. I mean, Ian Wright said yesterday, didn't he, on Twitter, like, just enjoy it because it's going to be the first of many, and if anyone knows about sticking a ball in the back of the net for Arsenal, it's Ian Wright, isn't it? So,
indeed, yes, indeed. Let's move on to someone's performance who's been a bit sort of shady. What did you make of Aaron Ramsey's performance yesterday?
Well, it was a bit too close to the performances we saw kind of back in 2012, wasn't it? Trying a few things that weren't working out, and that much to be made of that crossfield ball he hit across that went out for a corner, and I think he's just going through a bit of poor form at the moment. At the beginning of the season he wasn't playing well, but he was popping up with important goals. And then the last few weeks has dried up a little bit, but I'm not worried. I think he was good enough for a large period last season. And to be honest, I think the 4-2-3-1 formation is probably more beneficial to him than it would have been than the one we've been using. I think Ramsey's best when he comes from a deep position, used box to box rather than being pushed further up. Obviously yesterday he still wasn't very good, but I think he just kind of played his way into a bit of poor form. I know he picked up an ankle injury, didn't he, when he was away at Wales. You don't know if that's still bothering him, but as I said, I'm not worried because I know that he's a great player, and I'm sure that within a few weeks he'll be back to his best and a big part of the team. I think a lot of our attacking players haven't really hit the heights this season, and I think we need a bit of time to gel and get the new guys in, and we've been trying to accommodate a new system, but you hope that we're going to go back to what we were using last season. So I think all our attacking players will only get better and better as the season goes on, as they get to play more with each other and get into the swing of things. So he has been poor, but again, I'm not worried.
James, Jack Wilshere will probably feel kind of unlucky to be benched. Didn't start yesterday. Would you have had him on instead of Ramsey?
Yeah, it's one of them. I don't think they can play together, and I put that on Twitter yesterday, and a few people have come back to me, but I don't know what it is. It seems that when they play together, they're not fantastic, but then when they're on their own, they have a great game each. It's a weird one. I mean, Ramsey for me yesterday, I agree with what Callum said. I think, playing on that home base Astro turf, or whatever it was in Andorra for Wales, and he hurts his leg on that fake pitch, whatever. I don't think he's 100%, because you could see when he was running a bit, he's straining and stuff. He's grabbing his hamstrings and whatnot. But I think he's a player that relies on his instincts. When he gets given a lot of time on the ball, like he does these wayward passes and stuff like that. Mertesacker, when he done that one that went for a corner, was looking at him. He's like, just calm down, Aaron.
Yeah.
He's like, calm it down. He's trying to do too much. He's got too much time. And I don't know. I just don't think they can play together. I would have thrown Wilshere in just for how well he did against Man City. But then, the way that Wenger gets, people were going, oh, why are you starting Ozil after the Dortmund game? If you dropped Ramsey as well, people were like, well, why are you dropping Ramsey? He can't really win in those sort of aspects, so it's hard to really pick who you go with in midfield, but you can both rely on both of them. I think it was just a rare off day for Ramsey, and I think he'd be G'd up for next week's game anyway, so you've got to play him in that one.
It's worth noting as well that you don't know if there's a kind of a conscious effort from Wenger to maybe only play Wilshere a couple of times a week. For him to play on the Saturday, then a Tuesday, then a Saturday again. We all know he's got glass ankles, so maybe this might be something Shad Forsyth said. Don't overplay him. And to be honest, I think that's been the conundrum, isn't it? How do you accommodate Wilshere into the team without having to push Ozil out wide? And unfortunately, it looks like you either have Wilshere and Ramsey together, but then you have to lose Ozil from his best position. But if you put Ozil in as a number 10, then you have to take one of them out. And I think over the course of the season, the best thing to do is to put Ozil in the middle and then have Wilshere rotating with Ramsey, because realistically, Wilshere's not going to be fully fit all the time. Ramsey will have perhaps bad games, and we need to rotate a bit more, I think. And
so, in your estimation, can they play together though? Can you drop someone like an Arteta, play Wilshere and Ramsey behind, at the base behind?
I think
Ozil.
I think realistically, if we play Ramsey and Wilshere in the midfield, we're going to be far too open. And what you could do is you could say to Ramsey, look, just you sit back, you defend, or say to Wilshere, you sit back, you defend. But if you do that, then it seems pointless why play Wilshere in that position, because he played there for England, and I thought he did all right. But we saw against Man City that if you want Jack Wilshere at his best, give him the freedom to go forward. So you're either left, if you're going to put Ramsey and Wilshere in the middle, you either have to ask one of them to defend far more than they used to, so you don't really see the best of them, or you're wide open because they're both going forward. I think you really have to have Arteta in there, or a defence mind. Ideally we'd have William Carvalho in there or someone like that. But we don't have that, so we have to be realistic and just say, well, Flamini, Arteta, maybe Diaby could do a job there. I'd like to see him at least give a chance.
I was coming to that. That was the next thing I was coming to. With the Cup on Tuesday or Wednesday. Can you see Diaby probably getting a start and, maybe forcing his way into the team? Because we would need, on his day, he's a great talent, isn't he? And we could do with somebody like him in the midfield.
Yeah,
ahead of Arteta and Flamini.
I would love to see him start on Tuesday. I think it'd be any time we see Diaby in an Arsenal shirt, I'm quite happy just to see him play, because we've seen so little of him. Unfortunately, I think that Wenger's going to stick with Arteta because he's his captain. And unless he went through a real bad period of form, I can't really see him being dropped. But Diaby, though, I think would probably be, look, it's a very big if, but if he could stay, relatively fit, which again is a very big if, then I think you'd actually, Diaby as we know him at his best, I think would be the ideal partner for Ramsey or Wilshere in the middle. because he is very athletic. He is able to get up and down the pitch. He's a very physical player. He's strong. I think he's quite clever with his tackling as well. He doesn't seem to be very reckless like perhaps Flamini is. So I would certainly be using him on Tuesday night as perhaps a little bit of an example and say to it, because often when he's often played quite similar to Ramsey as a box-to-box player. But I think it'd be good if we could have him down as someone like Fernandinho, for example, who does occasionally get forward, but for the most part he sits there and covers Yaya Toure. Diaby, I think, could do a good job of covering Ramsey or Wilshere. So, yeah, hopefully, I know he played for the under-21s last week, and by all accounts he hasn't had an injury for a few weeks, which is, I guess, is good by his going. So I'd be very disappointed if he didn't play on Tuesday, and it would be quite the story if he managed to break his way back into the first team. And who knows, it would be great if he could.
James, would you? I mean, this is wishful thinking and me just thinking aloud. But could he be the solution to our sort of midfield powerhouse problems?
I don't think with a guy with an injury record like that, and it's unfortunate because we all know when he first come in what a player we thought this guy was going to be. But I don't think having him as a solution, because with the injuries he's had, it's only a slight tap and he's out for a year again. It's like when you were saying about Wilshere played at DM. It's the same thing. They're going to get tackled because they're the defensive force and they're the one that everyone's going to want to get through. But with their injury records, you can't risk playing players out there. But I will say, in that reserve game that he did play, I know it is only the reserves, but next to Akpom and Crowley, he was by far one of the best players on the pitch. He really looked like he wanted to come back and show his wealth. And I mean, Southampton, that's a perfect opportunity because they're not going to rest their best players. They're going to want to go for this in the cup. Cup run's quite a good thing for them. So it would be a good test for Diaby to really be out there on Tuesday night.
Okay, interesting. All right, Callum, just quickly, you wrote a blog earlier today, didn't you, about
yeah.
As a number 10, Ozil hits the heights again. Just tell us, give us a short summary of what your blog was about.
Well, there was the main thing I wanted to say really was the kind of the criticism he's been given in recent weeks, and I said in the blog, I think the question that needs to be asked about Ozil is not whether or not he can do the defensive responsibilities, or when he's playing on the left, or the question really should be whether we even want him to do that, because I said, when you're a manager, you've got players that have strengths, you have weaknesses, and what you don't want to do is put players in a position where their weaknesses are exploited and they can't do the best, showcase what they're good at. So the comparison I used, I said you wouldn't get Per Mertesacker stepping out of the defence and hassling opponents because he's really slow. And you wouldn't get Flamini trying to dribble through players, or because he's not Santi Cazorla, In the same vein, I said I wouldn't have Ozil tracking back. I wouldn't have him defending because it's not his game. So as soon as you move into the number 10 role and that free role, he just has the freedom he has to run into space. I mean, the best things about Ozil were his passing ability, his intelligence, and his movement. And yesterday, that's what we saw. When you're moving from the middle into the flanks, you're a lot more effective, I think, than you are when you're playing out on the left. Because if you're out on the left, the right back knows to mark you. You're only really going to go one way. You're going to drift inside. Whereas if you're coming from the middle, there's a lot more places you can go. And for both the goals yesterday, for the one he scored and for the one he set up, it came from him being able to exploit that space, knowing when to go, avoiding any defenders, and then first goal he slots away. The second one he puts a great pass across. So. I was kind of just echoing what a lot of people were saying anyway, which is that, he's best at number 10. And I was just making the point, it seems so silly to spend all this money on such a, talented footballer and putting him in a position where he's not going to perform well in. And, he was getting, criticised for not marking Seamus Coleman at Everton. And I find that as silly as if you're going to criticise Mertesacker for being slow, or if you're going to criticise Flamini for not being, being as trickful with the ball because all it is. So, yeah, I was just really excited about what I saw yesterday, and I just hope going forward that Wenger sticks with him in this position, because with all the talent that we now have around him, with Welbeck and Alexis and Walcott coming back, you can't help but feel excited, because remember periods last season when we had nobody he could pass to. He'd pick the ball up and there'd be Wilshere and Cazorla on the wings with Giroud up front. He thinks, well, there's no one's going to run it. No one's going to exploit this place. Whereas, this season we could feasibly have Welbeck up front, Walcott on one wing, on Alexis on the left. And that's the thing. Ozil, he's not going to win you games on his own if you don't have the talent around him. But if you surround him with these players that are designed to exploit the space, to get behind the defence, there's no better. For me, there's pretty much nobody better in world football at finding that man, finding the pass. So you hope that with the players we now have, and Wenger seemingly kind of more happy to go with the 4-2-3-1, that we'll actually see Ozil perform a bit better. And I think it's madness to use him out on the left and ask him to do things that he's bad at, and because it's a misconception that he doesn't work hard. I don't know if you guys heard this, but I read that he ran more than any other player for Arsenal.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
Exactly, and when you watch it, what you don't want is him having to waste his energy winning the ball back. For example, normally we have Alexis to do that, we have Welbeck to do that, and that's their role, that's what they're good at. What you want is when they win the ball back, Ozil to be ready to receive it, or ready to run into the space attacking-wise, and that's when you're going to get the best out of him. So he's not a lazy player by any means. He's just not very good at defending, and there's nothing wrong with that because all players have weaknesses.
Okay.
Yeah. So that was. Sorry, I've babbled a bit, but I was excited about that. So.
Okay. I just want to pick up what Wenger said yesterday. He said Ozil had a good performance. The performance is not necessarily linked with the position he played. It was the plan of the day to play him there, but the plan can change game by game. The whole team played better as well, and he's a guy who depends a little bit on the quality of our game. James, is Wenger saying to us, don't expect him to be playing in the middle every game, or don't expect us to be playing 4-2-3-1 every game from now on? What do you make of those comments?
I think it's the first one, what you said, which is really quite disappointing. I mean, everyone knows my views on it. Why pay the money for someone who is on his day one of the best number 10s in the world and chuck him on the wing? I mean, like just how Callum's gone into, he's not gonna. Why should he track back? He doesn't. It's not part of his game. He's an impact person that, when he gets the ball, he's on a burst. He's one of them, like we said with Ramsey. He's all about his instincts, and he plays such great football passing wise, and I think he can add more goals to his game. But obviously, he's all about his assists. I mean, I think he should shoot more than what he does, but that's one of the only things I would say about him that I'm not a big fan of, but we all know his qualities and what he does possess. And I hope and pray for Arsenal's sake that he does play in the position that, he's born to play in.
Okay. All right, if anybody wants to read Callum's blog, it's on the Arsenal Fan TV website in the blog section. It's a very good read. It's a little bit long, but very...
Yeah, I did. It was after a couple of beers last night. I'm surprised you actually read it, Giles.
Yeah, of course. I could recite it verbatim. So go ahead to Arsenal Fan TV website and look for that. It's a very good blog. Moving on, James, any questions for us?
Yes, I got one from Martin Morgan.
Total of one.
I know. It's better than last week. Yeah. At least someone has come. So thank you, Martin Morgan. He is on Twitter at WelshGouda95, he's down in the valleys there. He said, should Arsene dip into the free agent market for someone like Lassana Diarra, or go for a few younger guys?
When he says
like younger guys in the squad, not the free agents. I don't know who is a free agent these days.
Yeah, I suppose Isaac Hayden comes to mind, doesn't he? You expect to probably see him on Tuesday. Apparently he had a really good game for the under-21s last week, didn't he?
Yeah.
So you'd expect to see him, I suppose. And Coquelin's there. But I don't know. I mean, this whole Lassana Diarra thing, where did this come from?
I think it's because in Russia, obviously, Chris Samba left for the same reasons, obviously with racism and whatnot. And I think I've had enough of that. And he's a free agent. He's looking for a club. I think somebody said he was in London. I think he's come back to London, and they all put 2 and 2 together and make 5, don't they? They automatically think, Arsenal need a DM. So
the thing is, I think that the only way we would go into the free agent market is just to make up the numbers. I think in defensive midfield we have the numbers because we've got Arteta, we've got Flamini, we've got Diaby, we've got Coquelin, we've got the numbers. We just don't have the quality. And I think I certainly wouldn't go in for Diarra, because then we just add a 5th average defensive midfielder. We're not getting the great player that we need. I mean, I haven't watched him for years,
and it's not a hospice. It's not a hospice for ex-Arsenal players, is it? It's for
exactly.
to redeem themselves. You left, for reasons, for controversial reasons the first time round, didn't he? I mean, we don't need to be
we've already got Flamini, who who's kind of. I think we wouldn't be too upset to see the back of long term. But I think if we'd gone and got someone like Mario Yepes, for example, the centre half, an extra man at the back, that's fine. We couldn't even register a defender at the weekend, so. But, you mentioned Isaac Hayden. I have seen very little reserve team football, so I couldn't tell you much about him. But if he comes in on Tuesday and does a job, then fair enough. But I also don't think there's really anyone out there. William Gallas, I think, he's not currently contracted to anyone. But I think that would be incredibly unlikely. And, I think Wenger, if he was going to buy a centre-half, he would have done. And when the window slammed shut, he decided to take the gamble, and I think if he went and bought a centre-half on a free, he'd be kind of admitting that he was wrong. And I don't think he particularly likes to do that. So, yeah, I find I'd be extremely surprised if he went in for anybody.
Okay.
But yeah, especially Diarra.
All right. James?
Yeah, like echoing what Callum's just said, but another thing, with the passing of Fabregas in the summer, Wenger did say, I'm looking to the future, I don't look to the past. If he got Lassana Diarra, the Wenger out brigades that were scathing him for Fabregas will just bring that quote up and slam it. So I can't see him getting Lassana Diarra at all. If I was going to put money on where I think Diarra would be going, I'd say QPR. Harry took him from us. Harry loves him. And they need a defender at the moment. They are shocking at the back.
QPR needs to do something on the training ground. I mean, they've bought some tidy players.
They've bought half of Europe, haven't they? Like half of Europe.
He just says, go play, boys. And then, you look at Leicester today, who are just this hard-working team. They only added 2 or 3 players, I think, to their first team this season. And they were 3-1 down to United today, which would have been disappointing. And nearly dropped points to a mid-table side, but they came back and won. So
it's funny that the 2 other promoted teams have hardly changed their team, and yet they're doing reasonably better than QPR, who brought as you said, they brought in all of Harry's lost sons and whatnot. But
that's what Harry Redknapp does. He just when he first came to QPR and he came in and said, the chairman's trousers have been pulled down by the previous management, and then he went and spent $100,000 a week and £12 million on Chris Samba, with some kind of funny joke. You're a bit like, are you
you taking
sorry,
the
Harry,
piss?
What was that? Yeah. And he's done it again. He just spends. I mean, that's the thing. Like players like Sandro and Leroy Fer. I mean, they're clever signings. These are Premier League players who have done well at their previous clubs. Kranjčar scored a great goal the weekend. But you just feel like with QPR, it's kind of a team of.
It's a collection rather than a team.
It's a collection. Whereas you look at Leicester City. I mean, Burnley, unfortunately for them, just can't score a goal. But then they kept 3 clean sheets in a row. They're a real unit, and they just don't have the funds. Unfortunately for them, if they had like half the money that QPR had, and they added a goal scorer, then I think they'd probably stay up. But they don't have that. Whereas QPR and Harry just seem to throw money at it.
So let's move on to the Man United game briefly. I mean, all our rivals actually. Start with the Man United game. That was a crazy game, wasn't it? I mean,
it was insane.
3-1 up. You'd expect them to close it out. I mean, I tweeted straight after the game about last week when they won 4-0. I think Van Gaal said something about this is a new dawn. A new beginning, and all the papers as they did, the Daily Mail, the Telegraph, everyone ran with it and got hysterical about it. And it'll be interesting to see what they reckon of this new dawn, because it was a shocking defeat, wasn't it, James?
It was just. Yeah, sorry.
Oh well, they all think they're bloody Michael Bublé, don't they? New dawn, new day. I'm feeling good. They don't feel good anymore. I wouldn't feel good after that, but. I've always, people know as well, obviously with my family links and whatnot, I'm an Inter Milan fan, and Esteban Cambiasso, when he signed for Leicester, I sat there and was like, what? I know he's old, but I'm like, what a signing. I mean, what a goal that is, and you can see the lift that he's given. They're like, this is a Champions League winner here, lads. We got
the great thing with Cambiasso as well, you don't feel like he's some kind of mercenary who's here just to gather a big pay packet.
No, he wants to help out, doesn't he?
And when he celebrated the goal, I mean, it's just, I tweeted actually, I said, imagine telling a Leicester City fan a year ago that Esteban Cambiasso would
I retweeted that.
A lot of people did actually. Yeah. But it's just, they're loving it at the moment, and Cambiasso was great today. His goal was well taken. He looked knackered by the end, bless him. Get on a bit.
But yeah, I mean, the Man United defence look. I mean, going forward, they look, as exciting as any team in the division. But
we knew that. What I don't understand is that going into the season, you say, well, look, we've got Wayne Rooney, we've got Robin van Persie, we've got Januzaj, we've got Mata. You think, well, actually, we look pretty good going forward. They had Welbeck. We've got him now. They had Hernandez, who went and scored a screamer for Real Madrid at the weekend. So you think, well, okay, if we've got a bit of money lying around, we can go and maybe get a striker. But what they went and spent a crazy amount of money. And look, you can never say Di Maria is a bad buy because his goal today was incredible and he is such a good player. Yeah. But you need to. You look at Liverpool last season; they lost the league because they couldn't defend. United lost today because they more than couldn't defend. They were just absolutely abysmal. And they got torn apart by a guy who was playing for Fleetwood Town 2 years ago. Jamie Vardy. He got lucky with a penalty, but it was funny actually. I saw so many people saying, Mark Clattenburg, and it was a poor decision, but you did concede 3 goals after the penalty, and the second penalty was a stone
wall.
It was so a tackle that you can imagine Chambers making. Actually, it was something a young defender makes. But the scary thing is that in a year or two, they'll still have Di Maria and these players, and they might have added someone like Hummels, and that's when they're going to be. Yeah,
I'm loath to. I'm not going to write them off just yet, but
no,
it's not the new beginning that he was telling Hal was telling everyone last week, is it?
Yeah, I mean, what annoyed me last week was people were talking, for example, about how incredible Daley Blind was, and yeah, he had a good game, but quite often when you're a deep line playmaker and nobody tries to tackle you, you're going to have a good match. No one in QPR. The thing is, QPR just sat back. Redknapp seems to go into these games with the kind of mentality, well, it's Man United away, what are we going to do? And they just didn't get up at them. And then today, Leicester were the exact opposite. They just got right in their faces and didn't let them play. And obviously they scored 3 goals, United, and Di Maria was great, but their defence just crumbled. It was just it was far too easy for them, and it might take them a long time to fix. But the longer it goes on, fantastic. And
okay, cool. James, what did you make of the Liverpool West Ham result? Did Jenkinson play yesterday?
He came on, yeah.
He came on towards the end, and he got a yellow card. Like that's the first thing he did, didn't he? Just completely clattered. I think it wasn't Sterling. I can't remember who it was.
Moreno, it was.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, he just completely took him out.
Hope the Arsenal cause.
What did you make of that, James? What did you make of the game?
It was incredible. I mean, it was my birthday Thursday, and one of my best mates, it was his birthday as well, and he's a massive West Ham fan, and he come round mine before for pre-drinks and whatnot, and we had the game on, and he was screaming my house down. I nearly had to kick him out. He was making so much noise. But I mean, I'm going to sound silly trying to pronounce his name. Is it Amalfitano?
Amalfitano, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he was a good player for West Brom last year, and he took his goal superbly. Yeah. Brilliant little goal. I mean, Sterling's goal, different class, but obviously it didn't matter in the end. But I can't believe it. I mean, they're
saying now that Gerrard's passed it. I mean, I didn't see the game, but was he really? Did he look his age?
He fell on his arse twice again, which the West Ham fans will love it.
It's funny actually. Gerrard's kind of similar in a way to Arteta. He's a great. He can keep the ball well. He retains the ball well, but he hasn't got the physical presence to get up and down the same way that Fernandinho or Matic can do. And
it showed yesterday. Did it?
I was tweeting a guy at Liverpool fans. It's quite funny. We've both got captains who play in that position who really aren't up to scratch. But obviously, for a Liverpool manager, dropping Steven Gerrard is a lot bigger than dropping Mikel. So the longer it goes on, fine. He loves a Hollywood pass, but he's not.
He's looking past it now.
He was pretty poor.
Okay. Today was the Man City Chelsea result was probably the best result for us, wasn't it? I mean, it was a 1-1, wasn't it?
Someone had to stop Chelsea because I felt like if they won today, it would have been hard to see anyone catching them. It's horrible it is, and people keep mentioning a certain player who plays for them now. Whatever, he's just another one of their. But they've got a very complete team, and
they do seem to. And that Costa's got a bit of devil in him, hasn't he?
Oh, he's a right so and so. He is.
How has he not been sent off though? He punches Sigurdsson in the face last week, which for me that's a straight red. And then how did Zabaleta get sent off when he's grabbing his throat?
Yeah,
is it they're too scared to send him off? Is it going to be like?
It's funny how
could be like Di Canio. He's going to hit me back or something. Do you know what I mean?
The attitude around him, he's like, oh, look at him, he's got a bit of, he's got a bit about him. He's just a nasty prick. When he scored against Everton, he ran up to, Seamus Coleman got the own goal. He ran up to Coleman and laughed in his face, which means, Tim Howard
went mental, didn't he? Yeah.
But so he's a perfect Mourinho player. He's perfect for that club. Obviously.
He's a great panto villain, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. He's definitely the pantomime.
He's more than that, because the panto villain you almost see him is like, I mean, yeah, I can see what you're saying, but he's a bit more than that. I think he's a right piece of shit.
He's a nasty piece of work. That's
he's the sort of player that you hate unless he was playing on your team, I suppose. You know what I mean?
Kind of, but I think even some of the stuff he gets up to, I mean, I just can't really imagine an Arsenal player. People often say we're too nice, and I agree with that to a degree, but at the same time, I don't know, actually. You know, when I think back to like Martin Keown dancing on Van Nistelrooy after he missed a penalty, I do think of that. Maybe I'm being, maybe it's double standards and stuff. But,
cool. All right, Lamp of Lard came on and scored. They were singing Super Frankie Lampard. Don't know how they felt about that after he scored the equaliser. And he nearly scored the winner as well, I think, if I'm right. And he had another shot that was blocked later on in the game as well.
I understand that it's Chelsea and it's, you know, his club, he's a record goal scorer, but when he was talking afterwards, he almost seemed like he was annoyed that he'd scored, and he was kind of like saying, oh, obviously I had a great time at Chelsea and it's really hard for me. It was, oh yeah, but obviously it's good that we equalised. I'm like, well, yeah, kind of, you shouldn't be saying that. I know that it's, you know, I've never seen...
You could see in his face, it killed him inside to do it. But he's a pro, you know, that's his job.
I mean, but we've also got, what did Fabregas? Fabregas came out with some comments today, didn't he? He's sort of like, it seems to be that he's trying very hard not to upset us Arsenal fans.
Well, he's trying to go on a PR offensive, whereas Wenger's just kept his mouth shut about it. And he keeps saying, "Oh, I did want to come back." It's like, well, you shouldn't have fucking left in the first place, mate. And I know that, look, yeah, maybe I understand that obviously he couldn't sign for us. I wouldn't say to him, "Oh, you shouldn't sign for Chelsea then," because, you know, it's his career. He had to leave Barcelona, really. But at the same time, you are playing for Chelsea. You are playing for a horrible team. And don't expect any good reception at the Emirates. You know, I hope he gets booed. I don't like the guy very much. And I don't blame him for going to Chelsea. But at the same time, he shouldn't expect us fans to be like, oh, well, guys, look, we turned him down. You know, he forced him to move away in the first place. If he'd never done that, he'd still be an Arsenal player. He wouldn't be at Chelsea. So, you know, I don't have any sympathy for him, and I think he should just keep his mouth shut. You know, that's what Sanya should have done. That's what Nasri definitely should have done. Whereas, you know, well, definitely him. But, you know, like Marlon went in the summer, he has nothing to say. You know, and he's got no. I've heard barely a bad word said about him. Obviously, he's not playing for a direct rival, but if you got, you know, if Sanya, what annoys me was that these players trying to justify it to the fans, like Sanya saying, "Oh, it's not about the money. I want to sit on the bench and come on for 10 minutes at the end of the game." You know, and it's rather like, look, just don't patronise the fans. The fact that there's huge money is clearly important, and with Cesc, it's like, well, we haven't forgotten the way you left, and if you hadn't left, then you wouldn't be playing at Chelsea now. So, you know, just don't bother. You know, you're not a gunner anymore if you want to call yourself that. But yeah, it just felt like you shouldn't expect any warm welcome. Put it that way.
Okay.
He will definitely score against us, by the way. In seeing the Lampard goal today just confirmed it. Like, it just is going to happen, isn't it? And yeah, so at least we clawed back a couple of points on Chelsea today to account for that miserable match. So.
Okay, all right. Last but not least, our lovely neighbours up the road, Spuds, lost at home to West Bromwich Albion. Couldn't be set up better for the North London derby next week, could it, James?
No. I mean, everyone's talking about the sack race with Pardew, but Alan Irvine, he's one of them where, you know, it's like Moylerstein at Fulham. He's a reserve coach or whatever, under-21s coach that's been promoted to the first team, and everyone's like, ooh, I don't really rate this. Don't think this is going to be any good. But you know, I couldn't name you a player that West Brom bought in the summer that I thought, oh, he's all right. He's not bad.
Julian Lescott apparently had a great game.
Oh, I wouldn't know. Wouldn't know.
But he's playing against Adebayor, who's been shite all season. So it's not that good, I guess, if he does it against a real player.
But no, that's a great 3 points for West Brom, though. That's a big 3 points.
It's funny, though. I tweeted yesterday saying, I'm looking forward to hearing how Tottenham's title challenge is back on after like a 2-1 win. I did not expect them to lose at home. But apparently Paulinho was absolute shite again, which he was all last season. I remember last summer, everyone was saying that, oh, Paulinho would walk into the Arsenal team. Fuck off, would he? He's an absolute nothing player. And you hope that, you know, if we play like we did against City or Villa, we'll turn them over, no problem, I think. And yeah, you know, Tottenham doing a good job of really rounding this weekend off with a good. You know, it was going really well anyway with Liverpool losing yesterday, us winning. United losing in hilarious fashion.
And that's the cream on the cake.
As that's going on, you just hear, oh, Tottenham 1-0 down.
Yeah.
Oh, they're not even the best at being shit. That's United.
I've just read here they didn't register a shot on target till the 71st minute. So if we can do that next week, that'd be charming. Be chuffed with that.
I mean, it is funny, isn't it? How last weekend. I mean, maybe because we got a good point against City, I think, in retrospect. But when we're drawing with Leicester and stuff, and there's such a negative energy around the club, and then this weekend, when everyone else, you suddenly realise, oh, hold on, Liverpool are shit, United are shit. Tottenham, they're always shit, so we knew that already. But, suddenly you're starting to look at it and think, oh, yeah, actually, those 9 points we've got from these 5 games isn't that bad. We're only 4 points behind Chelsea. Could be a lot worse, I think the win, this weekend's been perfect for us, hasn't it? It couldn't have gone any better.
It's a shame Amanda couldn't come on, because you could ask her, Callum, what does she think about Welbeck now?
Hey, look, I think Welbeck scored 1 and 2 this season. I think his all-round play is fantastic. He's going to prove a lot of people wrong this season. I'm looking forward to it.
Considering Balotelli's performance yesterday as well.
Balotelli, look, every game he's going to be wound up every match, and you get involved in the keeper yesterday, and you just think, just don't do it. If you keep doing that, every opposition manager is going to tell his defence.
Did you see him hesitate though? Because he said he was like, "Oh no, my 2 million bonus. No, wait a minute, I won't hit him. I might lose my money."
Senderos has kicked the shit out of him. Whereas with Welbeck, you're not going to get a reaction out of him, so there's no point. You can wind him up all you want, but he's not going to get in your face or go moody. If you do that to him, he's probably just going to. You'll be too busy focused on kicking him, and he'll be off running behind you or something. And look, Balotelli in pure talent might have it, but I'm far more. I feel like Welbeck's much more likely to put in a good performance week in, week out, even if his best isn't as good as Balotelli. Balotelli might give you one good game a month where he's at his top, at his best. He's a good player, but I said when we signed him, I'd much rather have Welbeck.
Okay.
He's a much safer bet.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to predictions for the week and the next weekend. Let's start with the Southampton game, the Cock Cup. Callum, give us your prediction for that.
Well, it's difficult to say because you don't know. I mean, I know James said that they're going to want to field a good team and try and win it, and yeah, maybe. But I know last season they fielded a really weak team, and a lot was made of that because Southampton were never going to be relegated. But obviously, Pochettino's gone and Koeman's in, so it probably will be a decent side. It depends how many changes Wenger makes. I think even if he makes a lot, I mean, you look at the amount of quality we have that haven't even barely made appearances this season. Diaby, Rosicky, Podolski. Monreal was out of the team at the weekend, so I think we'll have a lot. Ospina as well. So I think we'll win it. I think if Southampton rest a few players as well, I think we should have enough to beat them. And I hope that the guys that come in take the chance and play well.
Sorry, I was sleeping there. Sorry,
sorry, Giles. Are you taking the piss out of you, mate?
James.
Yeah, I echo what Callum says. Really, I hope. He might go with Martinez, but I hope he does play Ospina in goal because obviously, he's a new sign and everybody wants to see him. And I think he's got a good selection. I hope that he plays, Crowley in a cup match. We all want to see him play. Obviously, Zellerlem, we want to see him play. It'd be nice to see Diaby come back. I hope Joel Campbell plays.
Yeah.
Because then obviously we can continue the row in the WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
But no, I'd like to see him get some minutes under his belt. And obviously, I don't know if Sanogo's not fit or whatnot.
Maybe Ospina gets a game as well. Ospina.
Yeah.
I wouldn't play Sanogo, to be honest. I think we should give Campbell a run up front because realistically, I think Campbell, if he isn't in a game, is not going to be on the wings because you look at Rosicky, he's not a winger, but Podolski's not getting minutes really. So he's kind of, but then again, you look at, because Giroud's out for so long, Welbeck's the only striker we have at the moment, if you're presuming that Alexis stays as a winger. So if Campbell had a good game up front, then suddenly
I was thinking he'd probably play a three of Campbell on one wing, Oxlade on another, and maybe Akpom as the centre forward.
Well, yeah,
that's what I was thinking. That's what I was predicting, but I could be wrong.
That's a good shout, actually, because Akpom's been doing pretty well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
So is Gnabry fit again? Does anyone know? Or is he
I don't know.
I don't think he is. I don't think he is. Yeah. I think it was Christmas they said he was coming back by.
Really? Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah.
It's a long time.
What a shame. But we'll all agree then, I guess, we want to see Hayden and Bellerin.
Yeah, I mean, I can either way for Hayden. I hope if he comes,
I just think he needs the experience.
Yeah,
he needs to get.
I want to see Campbell. That's the guy I want to see. He's not had a look in, and I'd like to see Rosicky play as well. Actually,
yeah,
just before the Tottenham game.
Yeah, he needs. Yeah, he loves scoring against Tottenham, doesn't he? So, but I think. Sorry, Karen.
I was going to say, moving on to the Tottenham game. We're not likely to see. I mean, Theo Walcott's out, isn't he? We probably won't see him this side of the international window now, because I think after that we've got Galatasaray and Chelsea. So I mean, we could see him this side of the transfer window, international window, but possibly not. What are your predictions for the Tottenham game?
5-0. I don't know. Like, it's an North London derby, so you never know how it's going to go. But judging by what I've seen of Tottenham and what I've seen of us in the last couple of weeks, anything other than a win would be unacceptable. So, I'd fancy at home. I always fancy us to beat them quite comfortably, and I think we should again by 1 or 2 goals. So, I'm pretty confident.
James?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, after the Dortmund game, we had big, like, cuts to the body, but, they've prepared now with the Aston Villa game. And, if we take that momentum and we play it against Tottenham, then we should tank them, really. I want us to tank somebody. I've waited ages. I want a 5-0 as well, Callum.
Don't we all?
Indeed. All right. So here's hoping. Okay. So that's about wraps it up for this week. I want to thank both the guys, James and Callum, for coming on.
Welcome, mate.
Thank you.
Pleasure.
Good stuff. And, we'll reconvene next week. Hopefully, I think we'll have Mo on the show, actually, on the podcast, straight after the Tottenham game. So
Mo and Jeff not having the...
Oh, yeah, absolutely. We've got that.
Oh, the gloves are on, are they?
Yeah. Handbags at dawn. That's next Friday, and then next Saturday he's back on again, reviewing the Tottenham game. Hopefully it'll be a good one. So join us again, people, and I want to say thank you and goodbye. Keep it Arsenal.